Dr. Harsha Atmakuri, a visionary filmmaker and investigator who's recently released a groundbreaking documentary, Maa Ka Doodh, uncovering a nation's dairy disaster, is my guest today. His investigative feature-length film delves into the untold stories behind India's white revolution and explores the ethical, cultural, environmental, religious, economic, social and political complexities surrounding dairy consumption in India. Join us as we welcome the young doctor in our ITV Gold studio, explore his journey and the significant revelations of his film. Welcome to ITV Gold studio.
Namaste, and thank you very much for having me here.
Of course, pleasure. What brings you to US?
So we were working on various projects, and we want to. So we got an invitation to do an university screening of the film Maa Ka Doodh, Mother's Milk, at various universities. So there is an organization called ASAP, Allied Scholars for Animal Protection. They do these university tours for the environment, health and animal protection. So as part of their tour, they have watched the film when they were in India, and they invited me to be part of their tour. So since I already have a visa, but I never visited US, so I thought okay, this is a great time to visit here. And also there is an event called Animal Vegan Advocacy Summit. It's one of the largest animal rights summit that happens in US and in the world. And so I also wanted to attend that, so we wanted to combine that, yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. So you've always been a vegan, or did you at some point of time realize that what you were eating or putting in your mouth or what your mom was feeding you was not really food that your heart said or your conscience said that you should have? How did it come about?
So like any average South Indian, I was born and brought up as a meat eater. And so I consumed all kinds of meat, most of the meat that average Indian consumes. But at the same time, I also call myself animal lover. We used to have pet dogs, we used to have pet cats, we even have pet fish. But I never made that connection between animals that I consume and the animals that we raise as a companion. But this went on till my teenage life, late teenage. But one day during my third year of medical school, I went to buy some vegetables, and coincidentally right next to the market is the slaughterhouse. So it just happened that I happened to see a chicken that is getting slaughtered right in front of me, and then that has shocked me, because I consume it, but I never see how it is prepared. I think this is the situation with most of us today. So I went back to my hostel and I looked up about the situation, and one thing led to another. I finally saw a video of PETA. It's called Kentucky Fried Cruelty. It's about how KFC treats chicken. So it's a 4-minute video of Pamela Anderson narrating how the animals are treated. And by the end of that video, I decided that I should be vegetarian. So I turned vegetarian overnight. It was like, I don't want to be part of it. The only way to be not part of it is not supporting it, and I don't support it by not purchasing it. So it's a very simple, rational A to B, A plus B.
Of course. True, but then again, we don't really have so many alternatives. And even if there are, they are much more expensive than the regular meals you get.
That's unfortunately because of the system that is
that's
dominated
demand and
by
supply, and they are making money out of it.
Not just the demand and supply, you also need to understand how the meat and dairy industry operates. For example, take India. Do you know that when you sell milk, you pay 0 tax? Right? On top of that, the government every year spends thousands and thousands of crores subsidizing the dairy farmers, because subsidizes in the form of loans. They give like 50% or depending on number of animals, area, XYZ factors, they subsidize, and they subsidize artificial insemination. They have feed programs, everything. On top of that, there is 0 tax when you sell milk. And so that is why milk is put around 60 rupees today. So when you remove all these subsidies and also implement all the hygienic practices that we need, the milk price should actually be around 300 rupees per liter. So that is one factor. The other thing is, plant-based alternatives. For example, plant-based milk in India is taxed at 18%.
That's a lot.
See, that's how the system is made. So which is why I encourage people, like if you want to make, let's say, oat milk or almond milk, if you don't have enough money, make them yourself at home. It's much cheaper. You can make 1 liter of coconut milk with 25 rupees or 30 rupees at home. It only takes 10 to 15 minutes of effort. But if you buy the same amount of milk, coconut milk in the market, it will be at least 5 to 10 times higher. That's because it's a value added product and tax is included in it. So there are various reasons why it is expensive. So which is why we always encourage that, hey, make these things at home. It's the cheapest way.
Coming back to Maa Ka Doodh, start by telling us what inspired you to make Maa Ka Doodh, the documentary. How did you turn into a filmmaker? Because you're a doctor, what special skill set did you have to acquire to make this film?
So I became filmmaker not by passion but by choice. And the choice came because when I turned vegan, I came to know about the activists that are few activists that have just started doing outreach programs in India, which I have joined. Initially what I used to do is I used to go during the weekends and I used to go to the streets and talk to random strangers speaking about animal rights. And at one point I got tired of repeating everything again and again and again. I felt like maybe I should just record it and I can focus on something else. The video will play, it won't get tired. So I made one video and became viral to my surprise, and it reached millions of people.
So this was a short clip or a short
video. It's like a 5-minute video. So that's when I realized that, okay, I have spent 1 month to make one video, and that too while working. And I reached 1 million people or maybe even more. And whereas on the other hand, I was doing street activism every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and I was talking to maximum 1,000 people for a period of 6 months. Then I felt like, okay, movie is a very powerful tool and I should invest in it. So I started making short videos and all, but the movie idea never came to me until I started reaching out to influencers, celebrities, influencers, media journalists, requesting them like, hey, please cover these issues. These are very important things. It's not just about the animal rights. It's about human health and environment. But no one is really interested to talk about these things. Everyone wants some kind of controversy or politics or anything to, So one day I just felt like I got tired of reaching out to people. And I felt like if no one is doing it, maybe I should do it.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason why I chose to make this film. And many people get surprised that most of the filmmaking, at least 80% of the skills in filmmaking I learned is from YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's how I became a filmmaker.
जो डेयरी इंडस्ट्री है, गाय भैंस रखी जाती हैं दूध के लिए, ये हर क्रूरता की जड़ है।
जितने भी व्यर्थ के मुद्दे होते हैं वो लोगों के दिमाग में घुसे हुए हैं। ये मुद्दा ही नहीं बनता कभी। आप अखबार को उठाइए, उसमें सारे वो मुद्दे भरे होते हैं जो आदमी के दिमाग को खराब करें।
So they are not saying it is not adulterated. At the same time, they don't want to scare the public also.
बीफ इंडस्ट्री जो है वो बिना डेयरी के पॉसिबल नहीं है।
It's amazing how clever they are. They're very, very intelligent.
The whole life they have been profited from, And in the end, it's like, oh, horrible days.
The bribing happens from one end to the other end. Every checkpost, it is there.
And you even traveled over 20,000 kilometers for your documentary. What all interviews did you conduct, and what were some of the challenges that you came across?
So, when we traveled mostly by road, and we wanted to interview anyone who is related to dairy. It can be a slaughterhouse worker, it can be a Gaurakshak, it can be a dairy farmer, it can be an animal rights activist, it can be someone who is working on vegan alternatives for animal products. Like, for example, there is a tabla, the membrane of tabla is usually made with the cow skin. So,
really?
Yes. Tabla, mrudangam, all these instruments are made with the cow skin, and the black one is made with the buffalo skin.
Wow.
So animals are used in even those instruments. So anyone who is, we found a scientist who makes these instruments in a vegan way using plastic materials and without compromising the sound. So
do you get like this similar sound if you do not use leather?
He's a sound engineer, scientist, and he created this instrument at a precision that it cannot compromise.
What about the leather ball people use in cricket?
Yeah, so there is leather in it. Unfortunately, a lot of people have no idea about it. So again, coming back to your question, we decided to meet anyone who is working on this aspect. Even we met politician Maneka Gandhi ji, and a religious teacher like Acharya Prashant ji. And we have just asked, it was like a discussion rather than a question or a confrontation. And
describe a Gaurakshak for me. What is
Gaurakshak is
average Gaurakshak like?
So a Gaurakshak is someone who dedicates his life, or at least a significant portion of his life, for the protection of cows, and in some cases buffaloes as well.
Aren't they the political fanatics who would go and kill anyone if they consume the cow meat, beef?
In my experience, that is what media narrative says. Of course, within Gauraksha there is also corruption and all. That is again, it's a very complex system. But if we go to a basic understanding what a Gaurakshak is, excluding those misusers or abusers, it's generally a religious intention to protect cows. Mostly they are from Jains and Hindu communities. Yes.
Okay. How do you manage to balance the various perspectives from different stakeholders such as dairy farmers, Gaushala administrators and Gaurakshaks?
I have a religious philosophy for it. It's that, no one can deny the truth, and no one wants to hear lies, right? So I think that simple philosophy, for example, if I lie to you and sell something, a product, and hey, this will make you like how you look at a teenager, you know for sure it is a lie and you won't believe it. But there are some lies people believe it because that's how the marketing is
like
made.
The fairness cream,
yes.
You'll probably
so
buy
there is
it.
this marketing survey which has concluded that most of the people blindly believe whatever is written on the package.
Yeah.
So that's how things
it's
operate.
all about advertising, right?
Exactly.
Weight loss, fairness, anti-aging.
Yes.
You'll buy those things.
Because that's how they create craving for us.
Right.
And they make us feel we lack something. And because we start to feel we lack something and we try to pursue those things. For example, milk gives you calcium.
It doesn't?
Technically, if you look at the highest dairy consuming nations, they are also having osteoporosis and osteopenia diseases, So there's technically they should be having one of the strongest bones in the world because they are the highest dairy consumers in the world. So technically it's not really factual, it's a marketing gimmick is what I would say.
What kind of response have you received from the Indian dairy industry and the general public since the release of the film?
So dairy industry as an organization, for example, like an NDDB, we did not receive any official statement or anything from them. However, there are farmers who openly admitted that, like everything is true. What's wrong in it? You know, some people even admitted, you know, ये सब सच है. So. Negative way we have not, it is our surprise that we have not received any backlash from anyone so far, because a lot of people, animal rights activists receive legal notice from big companies even for doing much smaller things, but whereas we have made a film and we released it on social media and we still have not received a backlash. And one of the reasons we assume is because we feel that if we receive legal notice, it becomes a media news and it will create more attention, more traction, and more people will come and watch the film.
Are there more pros or more cons if you consume milk?
I think there are, I would say, there could be confirmation bias because I'm an animal rights activist, but I would say there is 100% cons.
Do you think, say, Amul or all those dairy manufacturers, they should put it on their Tetra Pak or packet, this may be injurious to health? So it's no 100% guarantee or what, because you see a poor lady, you know, like if she's, you know, and she would be holding a little infant and say, "Doodh pilana hai, doodh ke liye paise." That's the first thing, you know, a mother would want to feed the child.
I personally feel, you know, it's a solution. I think they would not try to do it.
Why?
Even if, because it hurts their business, right? Of course.
Does it hurt the government also?
From a vote bank perspective, yes. So definitely the government would not risk, any government, be it the ruling government or opposition government, they would not risk offending their vote banks. So I don't think any government would do it, which is why we feel that this should come from the people, the consumers. It should be a people's movement. Unfortunately, animals cannot vote, so which is why the governments will not listen to animal right issues in general.
So what's next for you? Are you already working on a new project?
So animal rights movement or the veganism is a very complex issue and it deals with so many factors. So right now I am working on an issue to see how human rights and animal rights are interconnected, and is there a difference between it, between the two. So the question that we are asking in this film is whether human rights lead to animal rights or animal rights lead to human rights. What is the ultimate solution for everyone to have their own rights? So that is a project that I am currently working on.
Wonderful. So you want to be the voice of the animals and speak from both sides?
Yes, it's more of an experimental film. I'm interviewing so many human rights activists as I'm in US right now and even in India once I go back, and trying to understand their perspective and how they were oppressed over a period of time, you know, how their ancestors were treated, and try to see whether there are any commonalities between how we treat animals today and what kind of parallels that are there and what kind of solutions, not just for animal rights but also for human rights, right? There is this one example, I can say for Brazil, you know, two things I want to say about Brazil. One is, you know, a huge amount of deforestation happening in Brazil. You must be aware of it, right? It came in the news. You know, but do you know why a significant portion of that deforestation is happening? It's happening because Brazil is a very strong meat and dairy producer in the world, and they need they need grains and grass to feed these animals, and they have only one land to get it, and that is the forest. That is why an estimated more than 90% of deforestation in Brazil is happening to raise crops that in turn goes to feed these animals. And second thing is, there is 80% of the beef that is Brazil exports is coming from Indian cattle, because in the 1950s and 60s, the Brazil people wanted to raise cattle in the northern part of the Brazil, but they failed because they were using European breeds which cannot survive in the heat. So they came to India, they imported the cattle from India, the Indian breeds, and they started breeding them in Brazil. And when they saw that they are thriving in the northern part of Brazil, which is a very humid and hot climate, it's like a gold mine for them in terms of money. So 80% of the beef and milk that Brazil exports or consumes is coming from the Indian cattle. Yes. And third thing, when it comes to human rights, I spoke to an activist in Brazil a few months ago, and she told me that more than 50% of the slaughterhouse workers in Brazil are underage children.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because it's an industry that thrives on oppression, right? So they send these people and they push them towards the slaughter, slaughtering these innocent animals. And imagine these children growing up and what kind of mindset they would have when they become adults.
Criminals.
You
So
have
they,
you said it
they will be
yourself.
like totally desensitized if they're,
Exactly.
you know,
So this is a global problem, not just
Yes.
limited to animal rights.
very true. You plan to go to Brazil?
I do not have the financial resources as of now, but if I have, I will definitely love
You
to go
should
and
definitely go.
investigate. Yes.
Lastly, what message would you like to convey to those who are hesitant to watch this film due to its controversial subject matter?
My only message to those who are hesitant to watch the film is, one thing: if you call yourself an animal lover and you consume dairy, I think we have a minimum responsibility to understand how those animals are treated. You don't have to go vegan. You just watch it, and that is a minimum responsibility I feel that each individual has, where the food or the source is coming from. And try to understand and try to empathize. And I cannot force anyone. I cannot even
Right.
force you or anyone to go vegan. I can only share the facts, and only the facts can convince you or make you choose whether to go vegan or not. So the power is in your hands. I
Right.
think you have to realize that you have a great power, and once you know these facts, I think you will act accordingly. I don't have to tell anything.
Do you still have pets, dogs and cats at home?
Yes, not in my Mumbai home, but in my Andhra Pradesh home, we have 4
What
rescue
do you
dogs
feed
and
them?
few. So, because I don't raise pets myself.
But if you were there
Yes,
in
my
your
family,
South
they
Indian
turned-
home, what would you give to your dogs?
So my family has turned vegetarian, so they are giving vegetarian food. But half of the time it's a vegan food. My dogs love sambar rice. When you mix
Really?
rice and sambar.
Is that even healthy? Because their whole system is supposed to digest the non-vegetarian food, and their teeth structure, everything. It's
Yeah.
like you're
So-
fighting the nature. It's a wild animal which is
Yes.
domesticated.
So dogs are actually omnivores. They can survive both on plants and animals. They can survive on meat and plants also. For example, if you give a carrot to a dog, they can chew. Many dogs eat. So the dogs, many animal feeders in India, when they don't have money,
They
do you
give
know what?
Parle-G.
Parle-G or rotis actually.
Roti also, yes.
And so dogs are omnivores. They thrive on it. In fact, all the dogs
But they
at our
give milk
home are.
also.
Yes, some people give milk, but at my home, because you asked specifically about my home, I only visit once or twice in a year, so I don't have any influence or anything. But my family, because they turn vegetarian, they give vegetarian food. Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Harsha Atmakuri, for joining us today and sharing your insights into the complexities of India's dairy industry. Maa Ka Doodh is a powerful documentary that sheds lights on important issues affecting our society and environment. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors and hope this film inspires change and compassion. To our viewers, don't miss the chance to watch Maa Ka Doodh and be part of the conversation on sustainable and ethical practices. Until next time, stay informed and stay compassionate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.